Sadhana. We are Jen and Ramtin from Heart Center Revolution.
Our intention with this podcast is to share the best of Kundalini Yoga and conscious living with you so you can live a more heart-centered life. Satnam, and welcome to episode 39 of the Heart Centered Revolution podcast. We're so happy to have you here with us on this journey. For those of you who are listening kind of along in real time, so much has happened between the publishing of our last episode and this one, kind of bookended by George Floyd's murder and the subsequent protests. And then here in the States, coronavirus has had, two peaks and ebbs. We're at the third peak now. We've had a lot of political division and intensity going on. As I'm recording this, it's a few days after Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were announced by the media to have won. But of course, it's going to take a while for some other people to come up to speed with that. So it's just been a crazy, intense period of time. And we've had some personal stuff going on that I'll share later as it's relevant. And so we just haven't been able to put out an episode, but we've really missed it, and I've missed connecting with you. But in that gap in time, one of the things that did happen is, if you are listening in order, the last episode was about the 10 characteristics of the Aquarian age. It was part 1. And Ramtin and I had part 2 recorded, but I had to clear up some space on my laptop and I accidentally deleted it, forgetting that it wasn't an episode that had already been published. So we'll need to re-record part 2 and record part 3 about the 10 characteristics. So you can expect those in upcoming episodes. It makes perfect sense though, because a lot has shifted in the past 6 months. And so I'm actually looking forward to, looking at what's been going on through the characteristics of the Aquarian age, with what we know now and kind of what we've all been through over the past 6 months. So you can expect those episodes over the next, 3 or 4. We'll have part 2 and part 3 to round out the 10 characteristics of the Aquarian age. So kind of moving the focus back into this episode, which is about the transformational power of sadhana. And so sadhana, it's spelled Sadhana most often. And sadhana as a word has multiple meanings. And so the broad sense of sadhana is just your spiritual practice. And so it doesn't even have to be Kundalini yoga. Your spiritual practice might be, going for a walk through nature and taking deep breaths with every step. Your practice might be putting on music and dancing and really connecting with your spirit that way. It might be journaling. It might be doing burn and release. It might be another form of yoga, and you kind of mix in Kundalini yoga. So sadhana, the general use of the word, is just a spiritual practice. And then there's, within the Kundalini world, there are kind of more specific terms of the word sadhana. So it still means your daily practice, but as a Kundalini yoga practitioner, usually that's your daily Kundalini yoga practice. So it can be a meditation or a kriya and a meditation. And then there's yet another meaning of the word sadhana, which is technically called the Aquarian sadhana, which is a 2.5 hour experience that you have, right before sunset, what we call the ambrosial hours. And you do a kriya. You listen to japji, you do a kriya, you meditate, and then you chant for 62 minutes, like these 5 or 6 specific chants. And it's kind of a prescribed practice that Yogi Bhajan taught as the antidote to the Aquarian age, this time of intensity. But it is 2.5 hours. And so most people don't commit to that on a daily basis. And you don't need to benefit from sadhana. So like your spiritual practice can range anywhere from, you can just commit to tuning in every morning with Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And that might be your sadhana. And then on the other range of the spectrum is this 2.5 hour Aquarian sadhana. And I kind of want to cover the different uses of the word sadhana, because in this episode, Ramtin talks about sadhana a lot. And from the context, you can kind of understand what he's saying, or like which version of the word he means. And so this is a conversation or some thoughts that Ramtin had that he was sharing with some of the teachers in training, the Kundalini Yoga teachers in training, as they were starting to take on their own Aquarian sadhana. And so oftentimes he's referring to that specific 2.5 hour practice. But the principles are the same. The benefits of having a regular spiritual practice are the same. However, of course, if you're spending 2.5 hours and it's Kundalini Yoga, which is very potent and transformational, I don't want to use the word results, but the transformation and the change and the awareness and the shifts that you experience are very deep and rapid. Versus if you're just tuning in every day, that's a beautiful spiritual practice. And if that's where you're at, then be very happy where you're at. But obviously, as you dive deeper into the practice, or if you feel called to do something deeper, then the transformation is deeper. But, we all have seasons in our lives. And so there are seasons where Ramtin and I are doing a Kriya and a meditation every day. And there are seasons where, we meditate briefly every day. You just kind of have to feel the flow of your life and also be very aware of where you're at in your own journey. If you just started practicing Kundalini Yoga this year, you probably don't feel called to practice 2.5 hours a day. And that's okay. Just be happy and content and present with where you're at, and know that you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now with your practice. Then before we jump into Ramtin's discussion, I want to just give a little bit of background, because he had like teachers in training in mind. So there was some common language and understanding. And as I explain these things to you, please keep in mind that you don't have to believe what I'm going to share in order to practice Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga is a practice. It is not a belief system. But there is kind of an understanding of how spirituality works that kind of is the context for Kundalini Yoga. And I just want to repeat that it's not required believing, but it also is just interesting to learn how the yogis thought about spirituality and what it meant to be a human being and how we connect into God. So the first thing is reincarnation. And so yoga is the context of these practices is a belief in reincarnation. So the idea that our soul comes to this earth to live many, even thousands of different lives. And every time our soul comes in, it's like our soul is choosing to come to this earth in order to have this lived human experience, in order to learn a lesson, establish some growth, kind of raise the consciousness level of our own soul. And so when we are not in a life here on earth, we are fully merged with, the unifying consciousness with source. We are merged. And then as a soul, we choose to come down to earth, have all of these experiences, learn the lessons we need to learn. But part of that is when we come to earth, we forget that we are connected, that all lives are connected, but also that we are all connected to the infinite, like we're all connected to God. And so part of our journey here on earth is to remember that connection. And so this illusion that we as human beings are separate from one another and separate from God is just that. That's an illusion that part of our journey here on earth is to forget and to remember that we're all connected and we're united with the infinite. And then there's the idea that we come into this earthly life having lived previous lives. So we have karma. And so people think karma is like punishment, and it's really not. Karma just means like it's an equal and opposite reaction. And so it's kind of like what you put out, you get back, but it's not for a punishment. It's an additional opportunity to learn how to do something differently. Or if things are going well, to reinforce kind of the positive aspects of your soul growth. And so karma works in both ways. But if you have a challenge that kind of seems to keep repeating itself, then there's likely a lesson or a shift that you can make that can release that pattern. And that shift and that learning is a big part of why we choose to come here to this earthly plane, because having a human body and having emotions and kind of being confined by this duality actually gives us a lot of opportunity for growth. There's tension, pressure, stress, and friction, and those are the things that allow for growth. So again, you don't have to believe in reincarnation to practice Kundalini Yoga. And the benefits of sadhana still apply if you don't believe in reincarnation. It would just apply to your life here on earth, and then whatever you believe happens afterwards. Ooh, and I forgot to mention at the beginning that after we listen to Ramtin's discussion, I will guide you through a focusing and energizing pranayam practice. So for now, let's listen to what Ramtin has to say about the transformational effects of sadhana.
Sadhana, your spiritual practice, and is your personal spiritual practice between yourself, the earthly self, the human self, and the higher self, or the God self. And as a spiritual being, that is, when we say spiritual being, that means you're going beyond the body and beyond the mind. So sadhana helps you to create a more balance, more calm and stable mindset. That by itself is huge for your well-being, for your success, for your prosperity, for your growth, for your achievements. What's involved in this practice, as taught by Yogi Bhajan in Kundalini Yoga, we truly cleanse, rewrite, and pave our pathway for our future. We rewrite the programming in the subconscious mind. We allow the vibrational frequency within ourselves to take shift. We connect with our higher self very purely, very effectively, very consciously. Take advantage of these moments you spent in ambrosial hours of the day to connect with your higher self. Don't take it lightly. Sadhana clears, gives you a new life, gives you a new perspective to life, allows you to create life the way you deserve to have it. In the practice of sadhana, as it becomes a lifestyle, for those of us who are more sensitive and know that we are here for a purpose that's different from majority of the population. Your way of adding a good feeling and joy to whatever you do is your choice and your privilege to add to your endeavors, to any area of your life that you choose. Your contract that you came here with is embedded within your soul. And if you stray yourself from that contract, you'll never be fulfilled or happy. no matter what. So you have to stay within that purpose that you set for yourself. Nobody sends you here, forced you here. This is not a punishment. This is not a way for the spirit world or gods to make you pay for anything you've done wrong. It is a continuation of your own creation, your progress of creation, the creative force that you are part of and a co-creator with. As you become more aware of these concepts and the truth about who you are, you understand the value of the discipline that this practice brings you, and what you could do in this physical body during this time and space that you've been given as a gift. We've been given the mind to be able to experience time and space. And within time and space, this very, very short time and space that you have compared to the soul's journey that you set for yourself, you could do the amazing transformation that may not be possible if you didn't have this physical body, the conception of time and space. And once you learn that, understand it, accept it, believe it, and then know it, because now you have the five senses now for interpretation of the vibrational messages you receive. And when that comes to a certain feeling within the body through the emotions, now it's reality for you. And once it's reality for you, it will be recorded within the subconscious mind. And that consciousness will be carried with you throughout many lifetimes. What you're doing here during the sadhana clears many life cycles, many life paths for you. Clears your consciousness at many levels. This is a better way of saying it. What sadhana does for you clears your consciousness at many levels. Because everything, all your past lives, all of this is recorded within a field of energy, certain consciousness, Akashic records, whatever you want to call it. And as you remember some of them, you recall them as past lives. You may foresee the future life. All of this could be cleared within the consciousness that exists in your unconscious mind that you don't have, that is not part of your five senses. And you access it through the subconscious mind. There are different layers of the subconscious mind. The part that works more closely associated with the conscious thinking, with your conscious decisions, that supports your conscious thinking and conscious decisions, and a part that takes you towards the spiritual realm, different dimensions. And again, you may or may not understand and resonate with these things. Know that sadhana is working for you. This 2.5 hours, if you truly commit to it, brings you a certain wisdom, knowledge, and most importantly, connection with your true self, the divine energy, and no other practice will bring the depth that it will bring. And because it starts very subtly, depends on where you are right now, what state of the mind, and what part of your soul journey you are right now in this lifetime. You may or may not connect with it, but know that you're going to go through ups and downs. you have to clear the subconscious mind, the part that works, that has the memory, the modern memory part of the subconscious mind that has everything that you picked up throughout this lifetime from childhood. The conditional mind that you created within the subconscious mind, that is the most powerful force right now that works on your emotions, your behaviors, your perception of your world, and how you perceive and interpret the messages you get from the unconscious mind, the divine energy. There's a certain consciousness. Everything could be summed up or boiled down to consciousness. Everything has a certain consciousness. Everything is vibrating and has a vibration and energy. So that's why we say everything is energy. The source energy that started all of this is within everything. Everything. Otherwise, nothing will exist.
So at this point in the discussion, Ramtin started talking about the 10 bodies, and he was kind of just referencing them quickly. And so I took that part out. I didn't want to confuse anybody who isn't already familiar. And so we'll do a future episode, or probably episodes, going through the 10 bodies, because it's really a rich area of learning in Kundalini Yoga and a way to deepen kind of the understanding of being a spiritual being in a human body. But just for now, all you need to know is that in Kundalini Yoga, we understand that there are 10 different bodies that make up a human being. And some of them are energetic, some of them are physical, some of them are mental. And it kind of gives us a more useful and almost even like practical understanding of ourselves. We're all familiar with, mind, body, soul, but the 10 bodies really break down the mind, break down the body, break down the soul into different components so you can understand yourself on a deeper level. And as I said, we will do future episodes talking more about those 10 bodies because they're fascinating and super helpful to understand. But for this episode, I just wanted to give that general description, and then we'll go back to Ramtin's discussion, and as he says, he'll reference the bodies, and the 10 bodies are what he's kind of talking about.
What truly that consciousness that is around these bodies that we talk about, to bring us more empowerment, more awareness, and expansion of our consciousness. That's what we are doing here. We are here to expand our consciousness. That's our job as human beings for God. Having this human body has allowed us to experience individuality. Being an individual doesn't separate us. We become a branch, but not separated. We become an extension. As an individual, we are extensions of that creative force, not a separate entity. Understanding these things would resolve many, many questions for you and opens up the forum for all belief systems that exist, all religions, to come together and speak the same language. As we already have noticed, so many common bases and commonalities between all these different religions. Practicing sadhana is the start. Keeping the practice is a way you continue on the path. Becoming deeper and deeper into your practice, devoting yourself to the practice, allows you to take you yourself to a different level of consciousness. The transformation starts with your sadhana. The self-empowerment starts with your sadhana. Independent of any other forces that exist. Your well-being will be independent of any other forces that may or may not affect you right now. The more sensitive you already have come to this existence, the more you need the practice of a certain discipline to keep that strength within, keeping that protective shield within, which comes through your chakras, to be able to stay steady, stay with your belief, stay with your truth, and not allow the wobble of the conditional mind to take you back towards the fear, uncertainty, and the survival mode that we live if we are not connected to our own higher self, to the divine consciousness that is our source.
What a great discussion on the benefits of sadhana. If you haven't started your own practice, it really is, it's a good learning opportunity to learn kind of where the holes in your discipline come in. Your positive and negative mind come up as you're doing well. Well, as you're doing well, your positive mind comes up. And then if you miss a day, your negative mind comes up. And it's just whether you successfully complete, a 40-day sadhana or a 10-day sadhana or a 90-day sadhana, whether you do it successfully or not, there's always so much deep learning about yourself that happens. If you'd like some support in starting or maybe recharging your home spiritual practice, we have a couple of options for you. So we have a 10-day meditation program that's free where you learn Kirtan Kriya, which is one of the most popular Kundalini meditations. And then every day for 10 days, you get a video, like a guided meditation video to guide you through Kirtan Kriya. And you can sign up for that at heartcenteredrevolution.com/10-day meditation. And that's a free program. And if you're looking for a deeper home practice, we have a 40-day sadhana course where you get a full Kriya, a full meditation. You get instructions on how to adjust the times. So if you need to, complete your practice in 30 minutes one day, we show you how to do that so that you can stick with it. And then with that course, you get, periodic emails to check in and make sure you're staying accountable over the 40 days. That program also gives you the opportunity where you can choose whether you're committing to do just the meditation for 40 days or if you're committing to the Kriya and the meditation for 40 days. So depending on how busy you are right now, you can kind of choose what your level of commitment is. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can go to our website, heartcenteredrevolution.com/sadhana. Again, sadhana is spelled SADHANA. And I'll put links to both of these things in the description for this episode, and also will be on our website for this episode, on the post for this episode. So those are our two opportunities to support you with developing your sadhana. We have 10 days of meditation or a full supported 40-day practice. So for today's pranayam, we're going to continue with our practice of segmented breathing. So we're going to divide our inhalation and exhalation into several equal parts, and with just a very slight pause in between each part. And so taking these breaks and breathing in these sniffs like this will stimulate the central brain and glandular system in different ways, kind of depending on the pattern that you're using. So how many segments you're breaking the inhale into and how many segments you're breaking the exhale into. And I am having some allergies right now, and so I'm a little congested, so I apologize. Hopefully it'll sound okay. It'll probably sound better because my breathing is definitely more audible than it normally is. Okay, so we're gonna do segments. We're gonna break the inhale into 8 parts and exhale in 4 parts, and I'll guide you through it. And the impact of this is to increase your focus and to energize. And so you can kind of take a note before and after the pranayam. So let's just start by getting comfortable. Go ahead and pull yourself up to seated position, spine nice and tall. Let's roll our shoulders up, back, and down. Crown of the head is lifted, chin is tucked down and gently back. Eyes are closed if they're not already. Just bring your awareness to your breath and let your breath come naturally in and out. Don't try to manipulate it just yet. Notice if you're holding any tension in your face or your shoulders, and just let it go. And then we'll begin by taking a few long, deep breaths. Inhaling deeply, filling up the abdomen, belly comes forward. Filling up the rib cage now, the air moves up in our body cavity. Finally, we feel our shoulders lift without stress, just the air fills our body cavity and lifts the shoulders. Exhaling, shoulders come down, ribs come back. Navel comes back to spine. You exhale completely. Without straining, it feels natural and gentle. Inhaling, belly, ribs, and chest. Exhaling, chest, ribs, and belly. We'll do one more like this. Inhaling, belly, ribs, and chest. Exhaling, chest, ribs, and belly. Once you have a complete exhale, we're going to break the inhale into 8 equal parts. It sounds like this. Hold for a moment, and then exhale in 4 sniffs through the nose. Inhaling in 8 sniffs through the nose. Exhaling 4. Continuing this pattern at your own pace. Inhaling 8. Exhaling 4. Keeping the body relaxed. Cheeks are relaxed. Keeping the sniffs gentle. It's really just like there are pauses between. Continuing to breathe in this pattern. Eyes are closed, focused at the third eye. you ever become stressed or it feels like a struggle, you can always drop the segmented breathing and just revert to long, deep breathing. Do 2 more cycles at your own pace, inhaling 8, exhaling 4, beautiful. Take a complete exhale and then inhale deeply. Suspend the breath just for a moment and then exhale completely. 2 more deep breaths like that. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Now let your breath return to its normal pace, keeping your eyes closed, spine tall. Just taking note of your mental, emotional, and spiritual state. Seeing what just a few minutes of a pranayam can do for you. Feel good that you spent this time to connect with your breath and connect with yourself. And when you're ready, you can blink open your eyes. Wonderful. What a fun pranayam. Well, we are so glad to be back putting out episodes. We're so happy that you joined us for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time. We love you. Sadhana.